Tomorrow, the trial of Ghislaine Maxwell resumes. Last week, multiple people testified in the case. A woman who says she was sexually abused by Jeffrey Epstein testified. She said she was just 14 when Maxwell lured her into Jeffrey Epstein's world and abused her over a period of years. Epstein's longtime pilot also testified. He said former President Trump and Clinton, as well as Prince Andrew, former senators, and actor Kevin Spacey flew aboard Epstein's plane, but he never saw any sexual activity. Maxwell is accused of grooming underage girls for sex. We're joined now by criminal defense attorney Bernarda Villalona to talk about this and this trial. Bernarda, good evening.
Good evening.
As the trial moves on, more alleged things are coming to light. What do you expect from this week inside that courtroom?
So we've concluded week one of trial. Now we're going into week two. So from week one, we've only heard from one of the victims that's alleged in the indictment. So in the indictment, there are 4 underage girls that are named in the indictment as the charges. So this week, what we'll probably see is another one of those victims come in and testify that when they were underage, they were being sexually touched and promoted by Ghislaine Maxwell as well as Jeffrey Epstein. So that's what we hope to see this week, being that the trial is going to be at least 6 weeks long, according to the prosecution.
Bernarda, again, the testimony has been shocking. The defense, does it have an uphill battle to prove the innocence of Ms. Maxwell? And is that effort going to focus on disassociating Maxwell with Jeffrey Epstein?
So during opening statements on Monday, what the defense tried to do is try to say that Ghislaine Maxwell is being used as the scapegoat for Jeffrey Epstein, since Jeffrey Epstein is no longer here. That Ghislaine Maxwell is filling the hole of Jeffrey Epstein, and that there's an empty chair here in the courtroom, and that's where Jeffrey Epstein should be sitting. What they've tried to do, even in opening statements and during cross-examination of Jane, is to say that all these alleged victims, they're in it for the money. In fact, Jane herself received a $5 million settlement out of the Jeffrey Epstein Survivors Fund because of the allegations that she made, and that other victims that are going to come in and testify also received money. I believe one of them received $3.25 million as part of that fund as well. The best that the defense can do is discredit these victims, and they're doing it with the passage of time, their memories, that they're just now coming forward. So many years have gone by, and also that everyone has something to gain by their testimony. Will that be enough? I don't think so, because Jane, as well as the corroborating witnesses that testified, came off credible, especially the groundskeeper, Mr. Alessi, who testified last week.
From a legal perspective, does taking in any of this money move out any of these witnesses?
So usually it does. The problem is that in this case, it's not going to, and this is why. These victims have already received that money, so they don't have anything else to gain at this moment here in 2021, 2022 by testifying, because that money has already been given to them. Can the defense argue? Sure. They came forward only at the time that they learned about the fund. Yes, they can do that. However, given the credibility and how these victims testified, and the prosecution is going to bring in what corroborates their testimony. And the prosecution has been able to do a good job so far in corroborating the testimony by bringing in superintendents from the schools that Jeffrey Epstein paid for, by bringing in that same person I just talked about, Mr. Alessi, who worked over 10 years inside of Jeffrey Epstein's house, and said Ghislaine Maxwell was the woman of the house. She made the rules. Everyone followed her lead, and that when this man will go and clean out the massage rooms, that there will be sex toys, and he will put those sex toys inside of Ghislaine Maxwell's room because it belonged to her.
Bernarda, thank you so much. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.